Today, I'd like to welcome Valerie Alexander. Valerie is a daughter, sister, wife, auntie, friend, mentor, and keynote speaker on workplace happiness and inclusion. She's written several books on happiness, success, and the advancement of women, and is the CEO of Speak Happiness. Valerie's books include Happiness as a Second Language, Success as a Second Language, and How Women Can Succeed in the Workplace Despite Having Female Brains, plus several more. I couldn't be more delighted to be getting under the hood with her today.
I was the daughter of a failed marriage. My sister and I lived with my mom after my dad left, and my mom, God bless her, with no education and without job skills, she went out. She became an insurance adjuster, which was a great job then. She provided for us, and we grew up kind of like roommates, all in the same house together. I left home at 17 and went to college. I went to Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, on scholarship. And after college, I thought I was going to get a PhD in economics, but I didn't get into any PhD programs for economics, but I got into a lot of law schools. So I wound up at Berkeley Law, and I wound up practicing law in the Silicon Valley at the start of the first internet boom. I was an IPO lawyer, which stands for Initial Public Offering. And very quickly, because the Silicon Valley was exploding, I went from law to venture capital consulting to investment banking to being an executive at an internet company. And all of that was so exciting, and I felt powerful, and I was making money for the first time in my life. But the Silicon Valley wore me out a lot, and a lot of things, the writing was on the wall that this was not going to be sustained forever anyway. But I found out that my mom had a brain tumor. And so everything stopped then. And I sold my house, I sold my car, I gave away all my furniture, I broke up with my boyfriend, I quit my job. And with 2 suitcases and a dog, I moved back to Indiana. I took care of my mom for a year. That was fantastic. Um, and she got better. Um, but I went to Los Angeles instead, and I tried to make it as a screenwriter. I gave myself 2 years because I had 2 years worth of money in the bank. So I said, I've got to sell something in 2 years, or I guess I'll go back to practicing law. So just so anyone who's wondering, you can have a really successful career as a screenwriter. Like, you can pay a lot of bills as a screenwriter, writing things that never get made. I also started directing at that time. And so I directed a short film that won some awards. I've directed more than 50 commercials and public service announcements on political campaigns and political issues I care about. And then I started writing books. And in the course of writing books, I was asked to speak about the topics of my books. And then from 2016 to 2019, I founded a tech company. Everything I do is based on happiness or inclusion. In the course of running that tech company, I was invited to give a TED talk on being the CEO of being a woman over 40 who founded a tech company. And again, everything I do is about brain science. So I gave a TED talk called How to Outsmart Your Own Unconscious Bias, about my experience as a female CEO over 40. My greatest superpower is to be able to hear what somebody is sharing, to listen actively. So take myself out of the equation, take my own, if they're saying something about me, take my defensiveness out of it. But if they're sharing something about their life, to not be trying to relate with things from my life, to just listen openly to what they're sharing and hear what the problem actually is, and then zero in on how to solve that problem. And I don't know where it came from. I wish I could follow my own advice as well as I can give it, but that is my superpower, and I embrace it. My husband kind of makes fun of it a little because he says, "Oh, are you giving more unsolicited advice?" I say, "No, I'm giving the most welcome advice they're ever going to get." The thing I can do for other women is I can hear when they're limiting themselves. I somehow have been able to zero in when I hear someone describing her situation, and I think, if this was a man talking, he would never be going that direction. He would never be stopping himself from pursuing this idea, or he would never be questioning his own ability to do this. And I can actually just put a stop to it. I can say, okay, no, we're going to pretend you were born male or male identifying and that you know better than to stop yourself, because women become very self-limiting. And if you are self-limiting as a woman, it is not your fault. It is 100% not your fault. It's because you have gone into so many environments, or so many workplaces, especially, where you brought so much value. You were bringing so much value, and that value was not rewarded, or that value was not recognized. And you are swimming against the current. And what happens to the person swimming against the current is she looks over at the guy swimming in the current and she thinks, damn, that guy's a good swimmer. I wish I could swim like that. If you're always swimming against the current, you are becoming a really strong swimmer. And so that's the thing I try to do for women, is I try to point out when you're the strongest swimmer and get women to acknowledge that for themselves.